Previously on the Top 100.
You know, the greatest show on turf was 3/4 Marshall Faulk.
What else can Marshall Faulk do for this football team?
Nobody played linebacker like Bobby Bell did. He could do everything.
Mike knew who to block, when to block, who to help. I think Mike even called plays at times.
We wind up drafting a guy named Kellen Winslow. He changed football.
He was so good that forget about it. He was going to cover somebody like a blanket.
I come ready. I came out the womb, I was ready. Tell him, mama, you know I was ready. That's why you had me.
The thing I noticed about Herb was his ability to take advantage of a quarterback's weakness. They call him shutdown cornerback. Herb was that kind of guy.
When you see double zeros, it's not good at all. You want to stay away as far as you can from the double zero man. This guy was a demon with a killer's instinct.
Randy was the Lawrence Taylor and the Reggie White before those guys came onto the scene. The intimidator of professional football.
Rivers will hand it off. Tomlinson with a burst, first down, breaks a tackle. 30, 25. We'll see you in the end zone, man. Touchdown, LaDainian Tomlinson.
And now the countdown continues.
The greatest linebacker I've ever seen on the outside. You know, two ways, both prongs of the game. I got to go with a hammer.
Known as the Steel Curtain, the defense is a big part of Pittsburgh's balance of power. And it too boasts a potential all-pro product from nearby Penn State, number 59, Jack Ham.
The son of Western Pennsylvania, Hall of Fame linebacker Jack Ham was the iron in Pittsburgh steel.
Where'd it go, Jack Hammer?
Ham's career was a monument to quiet greatness. His textbook tackles were the steady drumbeat in a defense better known for its heavy metal flair.
Joe Green and Jack Lambert was just like, nobody intimidates us. We're the intimidators. Hammer's a little quieter, you know? It's more of a mood cell, but it's a beautiful cell. Hammer just comes in all smooth with the Dinty Moore beard, plays the best outside linebacker ever, but it's not a big cell, nor did he ever want it to be.
Steeler defensive coordinator Woody Woodenhofer called him the best damn outside linebacker who ever played. Nobody argued.
I've been asked 100 times in the last couple of weeks, do you remember the greatest game Jack Ham ever played? I can't. Jack never played a bad game for us. He had 10, 11 tackles. He blocked a punt. He had an intercepted pass. He recovered a fumble because he was hustling. He was always consistent.
The man they called the Hammer earned 8 consecutive trips to the Pro Bowl and helped the Steelers pummel their way to 4 Super Bowl championships. Ham's 32 career interceptions are third all-time among linebackers.
I really love the passing game. I love the man-man coverage. You play at a tight end or back out of the backfield, try to make plays downfield.
His coverage was just like, what happened there? And you watch the replay and go, Ham got the hand in there. Unbelievable. What happened there? Ham tripped him up. What happened there? Ham was blitzing, dropped back, and the coverage guy had to float the ball. I remember Dr. J once, they asked him what he wanted to exude most in his career. He said, I never wanted to appear small. And he didn't mean height-wise. I never saw Hammer look small.
Stabler's back to throw, and it is intercepted. An interception by Jack Ham.
The whole career might as well have been one big, good play. Go back to my Saturday Night Live days. You need your Carveys. You need your guys to step in and just stripe it into Stargell land. And then you need your Phil Hartman. Glue, seamless. Gene Hackman. Hammer's Gene Hackman. It's just always so good. You forget isolating anything wrong with it. It just is. That's the performance.
Tight ends, when I came into the game, were kind of an extension to the offensive tackle. They blocked most of the time. You know, I caught 12 passes my senior year in college. I would have played outside linebacker with any other team that would have drafted me. George Halas had the vision to understand what a tight end could do. He could get down the field. He would change the way you played defense. He would open up the wide receivers. I caught 58 passes my first year in pro ball and 12 touchdowns. It was a whole different concept.
I think he was really at the forefront of, or right there was with really the great tight ends in the NFL. Ditka was just a tough son of a gun. I mean, he seemed like he was made for the Bears.
The Bears, they portrayed the things that I thought football was supposed to be. You take no prisoners. I always felt if you hit the guy more often than he hits you and you hit him harder than he hits you, eventually you're going to win the fight.
No one wanted to mess with Iron Mike. I remember up in Cleveland where, he got kind of formed, dirty shot, and a couple other people hit him, knocked him over, and he got up. He didn't appreciate the dirty shot, threw the ball on the ground, clenched his fist, turned around, punched this guy right through the face mask, and nobody went after him after that.
Mike Ditka's disregard for his body came with a price. After 6 years with the Bears and 2 with the Eagles, Iron Mike was headed for the scrap heap. But Tom Landry still saw value in the hard-scrabbled veteran.
Tom Landry always said one of the best things that happened to us was being able to get Mike Ditka. We really needed that kind of leadership that Ditka brought.
Dallas was one of the most talented teams in the league, but every time the Cowboys were on the brink of a championship, they let the title slip away.
71 season, we were expected to do a whole lot that year, and we got off to that shaky start, being 4-3, and it was kind of an ugly 4-3. So to get focused again and get back on track, we had a team meeting. Mike got up, but he just talked about having the right people in the right place is important, but having the right people in the right places working together, miracles happen. So people trusted him, and players respected him because he really walked the talk. It wasn't an accident. All of a sudden, these same human beings, we won 10 games in a row after that.
The Cowboys rolled to Super Bowl VI, in which victory would redeem a franchise tormented by past playoff failures.
Early in the game, we drove down, and we were on the 5-yard line. We had a play-action pass that Dwayne Thomas did a swing, and Mike ran to the corner. I was still a little nervous, so I didn't look to Mike. I just threw the ball out to Dwayne, and he got hit, and we kicked the field goal, and we're coming off the field, and Ditka's just chewing me out. Yeah, I was wide open. Why did you throw me the ball? And a few other things he said. And so I'm thinking, oh, geez, Later on in the game, I threw him a pass over the middle, and he dropped it. And I said, hey, nice catch, Mike. And he knew why I said that, because I would never say that. But after he chewed the heck out of me, I was, I'm pretty competitive too, and I didn't want to mess around with Mike. I wasn't getting to fight with him. And so we bonded again.
Ditka made amends by catching the touchdown pass that secured the Cowboys' first championship, a fitting conclusion to a season he helped save.
I think that winning that 71 Super Bowl and getting that momentum to become a team that could win the big game and win when it counted, Mike was a big part of that. We had a very successful 70s as far as Super Bowls. Mike was just instrumental in getting us to the point of being a Dallas team that wasn't going to back down to anybody.
One of the great trivia questions about the Pro Football Hall of Fame is, who is the only Hall of Famer born in Honduras. Very few people know that is Steve Van Buren. And the reason is that his father was a fruit inspector down in Honduras, and that was where the family lived. Whenever people ask me about Van Buren, they try to get some idea of what he was. Tell me who he's like. Kind of imagine John Riggins in a leather helmet on black and white footage playing in the 1940s. That's what Steve Van Buren was. I mean, he was 6'1", 215 to 220 pounds, which was a real big man for that era. A big power back that could drop his shoulder and knock over a linebacker. But also, when he got into the open field, had the speed to run away from defensive backs. Steve had a lot of nicknames during his career. The Honduran Hurricane was one of them. He was called Wham Bam. He was called Moving Van. He was called Supersonic Steve. He was sort of ahead of his time in terms of nicknames. But I think the real measure of his greatness is the fact that almost 60 years after his retirement, he still holds 9 Eagles team records. He was the first player, not just in Eagles history, but in league history, to have multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons. And again, this is in a time of a 12-game season when 1,000 yards was not easy to achieve. He led the league in rushing 4 times. And he retired as the leading rusher in the history of the National Football League.
Following an 8-year career with the Eagles, Steve Van Buren was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1965. The ultimate honor from a league he wasn't sure would last.
I thought it might fold. There was no money around then. You know what I signed for the Eagles? I signed for $4,000. I said, whatever you want to give me, I'll sign for. I would have played for anything then.
The Eagles of 1947, 48, and 49 were a great team. I mean, one of the all-time great teams. And the guy that made them great was Van Buren. If you look at the 2 championship games they won, 1948 in the blizzard in Philadelphia.
When we set a snowstorm, we really mean it.
It's a 7-0 game. Van Buren scores the only touchdown.
With the championship riding on his shoulders, Steve Van Buren blasts off right tackle for the game-winning touchdown.
The next year, they go to Los Angeles and play the championship game in a driving rainstorm, where the mud is literally up above the ankles of the players. Van Buren rushes for 196 yards, which was the all-time NFL postseason record and stood for generations. And the Eagles won that game 14-0. In the biggest moments that team had, Van Buren always delivered.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the greatest Eagle of them all, number 15, Steve Van Buren.
People say the eyes are the windows to the soul. Well, if you played opposite Mike Singletary, you saw everything that was going on in his soul because those eyes were just lit up. I mean, and it never blinked. Nobody was more prepared than Mike Singletary.
Hey, move down! Move down!
I think 2 things make Mike Singletary very unique. Number 1 is intelligence.
Hey, Coach. I know what you're trying to do and stuff with the stirs and the stuff like that, but man, there's some big holes up front.
And his passion for the game. Nobody played it with more passion than Mike Singletary.
Hey, baby, we're gonna be here all day. We're gonna be here all day, baby. I like this kind of party. I like this kind of party, baby.
I can close my eyes today. I can see Richard Dent. I can see Mike Singletary. I can see Wilber Marshall. It was like chaos. Mike was the centerpiece of it all.
Let's have a goal line stand. Let's have a goal line stand. Hey, man, this young quarterback, man, somebody knock him out for me, will you?
Mike held it together. Extremely bright guy. Had to be to play that kind of defense.
Check pro!
God gives us athletic ability.
Watch him in the flat.
What do you do between your ears is what makes you a great player.
Under left. Under left.
That's the area where Mike really excelled.
Banjo, rope, banjo, banjo. Go, go.
Being able to get people lined up, knowing how to flow, how to run under blocks if you need to, how to take on a big 300-pound guard, shed him, and go make a play. And the intuitive nature of reading plays.
Hit by Singletary. At the line of scrimmage, Mike Singletary, he read it beautifully.
And Mike Singletary is one of those unique individuals that when you sit with Mike, he will move you. The fact that he's a head coach today doesn't surprise me one bit.
Hey guys, we got to make up our minds what the heck we're going to do today. We're fighting for our lives out here. We should not be going that way. We got to go in. We're in a war here. Let's go.
One of the most moving moments I've ever had in my life was in a sit-down interview with 15 Minutes with Mike Singletary. When I was broadcasting, Mike came in to sit down and he talked about the passion. He talked about the preparation. He talked about what he wanted to do. And he talked about his faith. People say, oh, that guy's great. Oh, this guy's terrific. Oh, this guy's well. No, I was in the presence of greatness. I was truly in the presence of greatness.
I'm watching the Oakland Raiders. And I'm watching the Kansas City Chiefs as a college kid. The Raiders and the Chiefs hated each other.
Here come all the Raiders. Holy Toledo, it's a free-for-all.
And I see Buck Buchanan dominating everybody. Nobody could stop this guy. Al Davis goes out and finds a guy named Gene Upshaw. Big, huge specimen. Sticks him at offensive guard just to stop Buck Buchanan. Nobody had ever seen a guard that big.
That little guy that I got a block on so little, I might run right by him.
Hey, big guy.
Let's go, babe.
I go this week. Homeboy.
I got there about 2 or 3 years later. I watched him become one of the greatest offensive linemen in the league. Al Davis brought Bob Brown from the Eagles onto our team. And Bob Brown had this gigantic thumb. And he'd stick that thumb right into the guy's ribs. And it wasn't too long before Gene Upshaw had the thumb, which was permanently broken during the season, just on Sundays.
The damn official's on me, I know. Oh, I lost him good. He's going to check my pads the first time he get a chance.
Believe me, if there was a technique, whether it be legal or illegal, Gene Upshaw knew it. Anything to win.
38-0!
Win is what Gene Upshaw did best. In his 15-year career with the Silver and Black, Oakland had just one losing season.
The Silver and Black, New Orleans, here come the Raiders.
And Upshaw remains the only player in NFL history to play in Super Bowls in 3 different decades.
This was our finest hour. This was the finest hour in the history of the Oakland Raiders.
Central to the success of those teams was the running game, with the player known as Highway 63 often paving the way.
The Oakland line is just wiping out Minnesota's front.
He had them big arms with all the big pads on, just throwing these things, and guys just be bouncing off him.
We should run down these guys' throat.
Gene would pull from his left guard position. He would get out there so fast and just attack you, just run people over. And those backs would get right on his backside. You couldn't even see the back because he was so big.
It's sort of nice when you turn the corner and you look into that defensive back's face and he looks a little frightened because he's got 260 pounds running there. You okay, Pitts? Huh? Pitts, I hit him with a forearm a while ago, so he's out. He's not on his feet.
Let alone watch him become one of the great offensive linemen. I watched him take over the Oakland Raiders.
Come on, let's go, buddy. Get after him. Got him down. Now don't let up. We got to go to work. 1 o'clock tomorrow. Everybody on time. Come on, Phil. Come on, let's get it out of here.
There's nothing more brutal than an offensive guard slugging it out on every down. When you got that guy being the leader of your team, that's a guy you want to follow.
Before the countdown continues, here's a look back at players 60 to 56. Number 60, Jack Ham. Number 59, Mike Ditka. Number 58, the first running back to win 3 consecutive rushing titles, Steve Van Buren. Number 57, Mike Singletary.
I like this kind of party, baby.
Number 56, Gene Upshaw. And now, number 55.
When he left University of Texas, he came on the scene. He was a star. And he was great from day one.
The 5'11", 232-pound Earl Campbell was a remarkably fast starter. In his first 3 seasons, Campbell won Rookie of the Year, a league MVP, and 3 rushing titles.
Look at Earl Campbell, the one thing that really kind of stuck out at you was his thighs. I mean, his thighs were enormous. He had a small waist, but his thighs were huge. A lot of guys wanted to try to tackle him low, but if you hit him in the thighs, you're going to bounce off of him. That's where the speed was. That's where the power was. That demoralizes a defense more than anything else. That 10-yard run where everybody took a shot at the guy and nobody had success. As a matter of fact, he ran over 1 or 2 of you guys in the process.
Kind of girlish for one guy to tackle me. I mean, I wanted to have a bunch of them. And they knew that if it wasn't like 6 of them, or 4 or 5 maybe, I knew what was going to happen and they knew what was going to happen.
You saw Earl Campbell, you saw defenses that feared him. Playing the Rams, he just put his helmet right in his chest and the guy just kind of folded. Another guy grabs his jersey, it breaks away. It was just kind of like a commercial. It's such a great play. The message that it sends is even greater. The next play, that defense is thinking, here he comes again.
Campbell's most impressive display of dominance came in his rookie season against the Miami Dolphins in front of a nationally televised audience.
Campbell, he has great speed, and he has tremendous touchdown, Houston, Earl Campbell. Campbell, forget it. 6 points.
He scored 3 touchdowns, but with 2 minutes left in the game, the Oilers needed 1 more to clinch the victory.
Be able to do that and have that type of stamina, to be that big of a man, that's nothing short of incredible.
Forrest Gregg, if you look at the coordination of his feet and hands, which is a sign of a great lineman or a great football player, basically. But when you get into Gregg, his arm reach, the way he positions himself, his action from left to right, the guy was just fantastic. His movements would cause you a lot of problems. What I mean is putting that helmet on your chest and them feet working, and he drives you out of that hole. He was the best drive blocker I ever seen. He's not like some tackles that, I go upside that head with them hands, and then, I'm done with him. He ain't gonna be much of a problem that day. Not him. Forrest Gregg, you gotta fight for 60 minutes. I ain't gonna get no better than that. I mean, it ain't gonna get no tougher than that.
On this play against Chicago, Forrest executes the difficult seal-off block perfectly. Taylor gallops through the gap for a Green Bay score.
You and I have been lucky. We played all those years, and we've never really had anybody to come in and run us out of a job. I'm really thankful for that.
During his 15 seasons in Green Bay, Forrest Gregg was described by Vince Lombardi as the finest player he ever coached. One reason for such praise may have been Gregg's flawless execution of Lombardi's favorite play, the Packer power sweep.
When Vince Lombardi first came to Green Bay, he drew that play up on the board, and he told us almost everything in our offense came off of that sweep. If we're going to be successful, we've got to make this play work.
If the end has the linebacker taken in, he will come around it and seal inside. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here and try to run this play in the alley.
Forrest Gregg clears away with a beautiful block, and there you saw the Green Bay Packer power sweep as of days of yore.
The ball was run to my side. I pulled with the guard and picked up anything that was filtering through.
On the Packer sweep, Forrest block was the most important one because Forrest has got to get there into the hole as soon as possible, and he was so great at that. He not only played tackle, he moved him in the guard on several occasions. He's fundamentally sound, getting off the ball, coming off the football. I have to really get ready to play a guy like Forrest. I have to put a lot of work in. I mean, there's nobody like that. You look at some of his tapes, and you'll see a fundamentally sound tackle. And that's what put him in Canton.
Well, in the day, you didn't have a lot of African Americans playing middle linebacker. It was considered one of the areas that you had to have some intelligence. Willie was a guy that had some intelligence, and this guy was pretty smart.
In 1967, Chiefs coach Hank Stram drafted Willie Lanier to compete for the starting middle linebacker position.
We don't particularly care what color he is, what nationality, what anything. The only concern we have is bringing them in with the idea of competing for our squad, and if they earned a right to be a member of our 40-man squad, then they're going to be here.
That's it. All right. The lack of bias was one that was extremely impressive because the relationships were pure, and it wasn't something that was really pushed, but I think the individuals understood that if there was going to be accomplishment at the highest level, that everyone had to understand each other's differences and each other's similarities.
Way to go, Jimbo! Way to go, Ray!
It wasn't a hoorah, we have a black middle linebacker in those days. It was hoorah, we got a guy in there that knows his stuff, and he will hit you and he will hurt you if you don't watch out. He had a great ability to read plays. He would line up and he would come ram, knock me back. And he would hurt you when he hit you.
For 11 seasons, Willie Lanier played middle linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was All-Pro, All-NFL, or All-AFC from 1968 through 1975.
Going up the middle, Willie, it was almost impossible. I think the best in the business during that time. He was so quick. They couldn't block him. He was a hard hitter. They just couldn't manage him.
My greatest asset would be the leverage that I have from my height. And this leverage gives me a position, a chance to really fight off blockers a little bit lower and get into plays maybe a little bit better. After a good, clean, hard hit, I've won. I'm the victor.
He was the quarterback on defense. I mean, he'd call the plays.
Let's go. Give it here. 4-3 gap zone.
And he was pretty smart.
Yep, that's a good summation.
Very, very smart.
That's a good summation.
Lanier had the complete respect of his peers.
Guys gonna get down, man. Down up front, baby. Get a knee.
In the 1969 divisional playoffs against the defending champion New York Jets, Lanier rallied his team to a heroic goal line stand.
There's a running play to Matt Snell behind right guard. It is hit at the goal line by Lanier and Gary Mays. Running play coming off the Mathis, stops at the goal line. Lanier hits it, and again, the Jets did not make it.
The Chiefs won the game, and Lanier led them to a victory in Super Bowl IV as well.
What a moment for all of the Kansas City Chiefs. They're beating the best that the NFL has to offer out here today.
I just enjoyed the opportunity to play against Willie because he was a great player. A Hall of Fame football player.
Eric Dickerson was really a freak of nature. Rarely did you see a guy with that size that had the tremendous speed. You usually have one or the other. Some guys are fast, but they can't make moves. They don't know how to cut it. Eric could do all that.
Running back, number 29, Eric Dickerson.
With the second overall pick in the 1983 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams selected Eric Dickerson. In his first 4 years in the NFL, he scored 57 touchdowns and ran for nearly 7,000 yards.
Well, I knew he burst on the scene because I was the other team in Los Angeles. John Robinson was down there, and if you were good, he was going to feed you the ball.
The first 2 seasons of his NFL career are unparalleled. 1,800 yards as a rookie, 2,105 yards in his second year. Still the single-season rushing record.
I mean, the numbers you put up as a rookie, and then the following year to break the record, ridiculous. Really, it was ridiculous.
Man to the left side, wide right, Barber, pitch back to Dickerson, turns left, cuts inside.
He was almost like a gazelle. He glided. Beautiful to watch.
Down to the 35, down to the 25, down to the 10, 5, touchdown, Eric Dickerson.
And he made it look so easy. Made it look easy.
But he didn't look the part. With his racquetball goggles, horseshoe neck brace, and 6'3" frame, Dickerson was unlike any running back who came before him.
We don't want to categorize him as a great tall running back. He was a great running back, but I'm telling you right now, it was even harder being as tall as he was. You have so much more of your body that players can hit. I don't think people clearly understand that. It is much tougher.
I ran track, and a lot of wasted motion would slow you down. That's what I was taught as a track runner. I ran upright. I ran with the upright style. Everybody thought that was kind of odd. In a lot of ways, that was not good because people thought I was not trying hard because I made it look too easy. And, actually it wasn't that easy.
Dick, get in there. We're on a 20 draw. Hurry up, hurry.
On Halloween Day, 1987, Dickerson was traded from the Rams to the Colts. 2 years later, in only his 91st game as a pro, he became the fastest to surpass the 10,000-yard rushing mark.
They come up the middle. Dickerson breaks to the 40, 35, 30, 15. He's down to the 10, 5, touchdown.
Eric Dickerson averaged over 100 yards per game in his first 7 seasons. In 1993, he retired as the number 2 all-time rusher in NFL history.
In some regards, I don't ever think he gets the credit he really deserves. There's no doubt about his greatness. He is one of the best, if not the best, backs that ever played the game. Really is.
Before the countdown continues, here's a look back at players 60 to 52. Number 60, 8-time Pro Bowl linebacker Jack Ham. Number 59, the first tight end to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, Mike Ditka. Number 58, Steve Van Buren. Number 57, the leader of one of the most dominant defenses in NFL history, Mike Singletary. Number 56, Gene Upshaw. Number 55, the running back who won Offensive Rookie of the Year and the rushing title in his first season, Earl Campbell. Number 54, Forrest Gregg. Number 53, the first starting black middle linebacker in pro football history, Willie Lanier. Number 52, Eric Dickerson.
15, he's down to the 10, 5, touchdown.
And now, number 51.
The 60s will be described as the decade in which football became the number 1 sport in America, in which the Packers were the number 1 team, and Bart Starr was proudly the number 1 Packer. Bart Starr.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, President Nixon, for those kind words.
Bart Starr has justifiably been lumped with the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's the only guy that has won 5 world championships. And one of the main reasons that has not been understood was his big playability. People have forgotten about that because the Packers were grinded out, run the football teams, and Bart's image was firmly planted as the staid executioner of the Vince Lombardi run-first offense. So Bart Starr would call a 4th and 1 play-action pass and throw it for a touchdown in the most daring kind of play, and people would simply forget it the next day because that was not his image. When he went with play-action, very often it was for huge plays. And very often, a Packer game or even a Packer season would turn on a phenomenal execution of a fake of a play action by Bart Starr at a time when the team couldn't move the ball, and the team would go on to win and then go on to win championships.
Bart Starr played in 10 postseason games and won 9 of them, including Super Bowls 1 and 2. In both those World Championship games, he was named the most valuable player. Deceptively daring, surprisingly strong-armed, Bart Starr was also always in command. And never more importantly than in the 1966 NFL title game in Dallas, where the Packers were playing for a berth in the first Super Bowl.
Fires up the middle, the pass is complete to Boyd Dollar for the touchdown. And Dollar was belted hard in the end zone by Mike Gector.
Our most combative guy on offense was Jimmy Taylor. And Jimmy saw that. So then Jimmy starts looking for Gector, which could have very easily gotten him ejected. It was really one of the most meaningful parts of the game because we couldn't have afforded the personal foul, and we certainly couldn't have afforded to lose Jimmy Taylor. So the instant that Taylor starts looking for Gector or one of the other Cowboys, number 15 is right in Jimmy Taylor's face, guiding him all the way to the sideline. And when he gets to the sideline, you hear, "Out of the way, Bart."
Quarterback's stance should be as comfortable as possible.
Coach Lombardi would actually concede to him. And Bart doesn't like to talk about this, and he's uncomfortable even talking with me about it to this day. But he would stand up in front of the team and he would say, "Wait a minute, Coach. Don't be criticizing us about that because that's not true. Let's get it right." Nobody else did that.
I told him, I said, "Look, Coach," I said, "I can take all of the chewing you want to dish out." And I said, "I understand your personality, and that's all well and good."
What are you doing out there? Oh, God. Get him out of there, will you?
And I said, "That doesn't bother me." I said, "But what does bother me is the fact that you're telling the team one thing, but you're expecting certain things of your leaders, of your quarterbacks, and you expect me to go out there and lead them." And I said, "I can't do that if you're going to chew me out in front of them." I said, "Now, if I've got a chewing out coming, fine, but do it in the privacy of this office where you apologize to me when you know you're wrong." I said, "Otherwise, don't ever expect me to go out there and be your leader." And he never, ever raised his voice to me again.
Bart would make suggestions, and the most dramatic of all is one in the Ice Bowl when the Packers had driven the ball to the 1-yard line. The call came in to hand the ball to the fullback. Well, the fullback had slipped each of the previous 2 plays because of poor footing with the ice. Bart went to the sideline and said to Coach Lombardi, "Let's don't hand it to the fullback, let me run it in." And he said, Coach looked at me and said, "Fine, let's do that and get the hell out of here."
Here are the Packers, 3rd down, inches to go. 17-14, Cowboys out in front. Starr begins the count. Takes the snap. He's got the quarterback taken. He's in for the touchdown. The Packers are out in front. 20-17. There's 13 seconds showing on the clock, and the Green Bay Packers are going to be world champions, NFL champions for the 3rd straight year.
He allowed Bart to think like that, and that's one example. That's a very dramatic example. But I think that sort of thing happened all the time with Bart Starr. And nobody knows that because that was not his image. The image got planted of him being a staid, robotic type player. Not so.
On the next episode of the Top 100.
He developed a quest for perfection, I think, and excellence after a while.
I've never seen anyone quite like him. There's no question he defined a position.
I decided that the only thing you can do is to just try to hurt someone.
When he retired, he had the highest quarterback ranking at the time of all time. So he was technically the best passer in the history of the game.
Roger goes deep across the middle, way downfield, and Butch Johnson caught! Touchdown!